Hello and welcome to another episode of WhipChat. My name is Christian, and today I am joined by Ian Cameron. Hello and welcome to the show, Ian. Nice to see you.
What's cracking?
What is cracking indeed? You are, probably. Ian hails from Frederick, Maryland, and is, of course, if you don't know it, you've been living under a rock, our two-time world champion whipcracker from LA Whipcon. Congratulations, sir. That is huge.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And I put on here, I was trying to decide how to introduce you. I put on here, an enemy of fruit and cans, near and far. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. But yeah, it's so I met you in person for the first time at the LA Whipcon, 2024 LA Whipcon, and had a great time there, as well as, you know, getting to meet you and everyone else and watching your incredible whip cracking. It's just like, let's just dive right into it and talk about that. And I'd like to know more about your history and how you got into it and some more of that. But I have to admit, I'm really excited to talk about the event and WhipCon. So how did it go? What was your perspective? How did you have fun?
So yeah, I had a total blast. It was probably, I'd be hard pressed to not say that it was probably the highlight of my life so far.
Yeah,
of the whole trip. So it was a great time.
Oh, that's awesome.
One thing I wanted to do a little bit more this time, and I was there for 2 extra days, was again, like we did at the Portofino Inn, was just a little bit more socialization and getting to really meet everybody and
right.
connect in that kind of way. Because most of the year we're all like spread out all over the place, and so it was finally cool that we got to unite together and right. Hang out and crack whips.
Hang out, crack whips, and really get to know each other. And as I've said in the intro of all my other shows, I mean, the point of doing this podcast is to bring our community together and get to know each other. Whip crackers are spread out. There's not big communities centrally located. Maybe there is in your neighborhood, but not in mine.
Not really there's only a few, really it's only like a few individuals here and there around the DMV area, like Maryland, DC, Virginia area. There's a few nearby. There's a couple in Philly. There's a few down in Virginia and a couple here in Maryland, but to my knowledge, there's no like local whip meetups. There's one in Philly though. So,
okay.
I believe.
Sounds like something we should make a point to visit sometime. So what was it about it that made it one of your highlights of your life? I mean, you had been before, you've won before.
I think this time I put a little bit more focus. So last time when I went, I was really just focused on the competition.
Yeah.
And I do actually feel like I was a little better focused when I actually competed last year than this year. But I was trying to be a little bit more relaxed this year. Okay. Of course, I wasn't relaxed the whole time, but like as in regards to the competition, but try to just relax, have a good time, honestly, and just enjoy the moment.
Right. Did you have a memorized 60-second routine you were trying to do, or were you just stringing together what you were thinking of at the moment?
So for both the single whip and the double whip, I had what I would call basically a routine plan for each of them.
Okay. But
kind of in both of them this time, they sort of went out the window, and I kind of ended up just flowing in the moment.
It was really impressive. I did notice the timer stopped. It looks like you were kind of mid-routine on one of them, and I was wondering if you added something extra in there. But yeah, if you're going with the flow, that makes a lot of sense. I have part of a video of it. I didn't start it quite early enough. Do you feel like that you were able to do it? Obviously, you hit all your cracks. Was there anything that you were hoping to be able to, I don't know, to do during your routine that you didn't get to, or?
Yes. So I'll be completely honest. During the single whip, I did miss at least 1 or 2 cracks. Kind of lost my groove in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the double whip, I was going to do a few harder tricks, like some more tricks with like the Tasmanian cutback and the staggered 4 corners.
But okay.
But right before we did the double whip competition, some of us went out and practiced, and I think I just went a little too much, so it kind of fatigued me a little bit.
Okay. So you didn't get to
I kind of had to omit a few moves that I was originally planned. So I honestly didn't feel I did my best with the competition, but
it sure looked incredible from my perspective. Can do. All right, so this is from my perspective. Obviously you are mid routine here. Feel free to commentate as it goes along. So some arrowheads and over 4 corners.
okay.
This is obviously the single.
So yeah, I was originally going to do. I kind of have a sequence in my head, but keep it kind of open-ended, of course. Like never have it too rigid. But I kind of ended it up just like really flowing with like the 4 corners, cracks, breakaways, just trying to keep it loud.
It certainly was. I think that was one of the. There were 2 people there that were super loud, and so Spencer, and I don't know his last name. Crazy loud, very strong whip cracker.
Yeah, his cracks are super loud.
But I would say that you are louder when you're doing yours. So it just really that powerful cracks, and you have more control, I would say, in your style than what Spencer was doing, personally. But it's just different styles too. But really, I think your experience also shows with that. It's really, really impressive. Oh, I don't have a video on the double whip. What do you remember from that? How did that go for you?
So originally, again, I was going to try to do the staggered 4 corners, but I ended up just doing, I think it was like 1 together time 4 corners.
Yes,
and I don't remember what I did right after that, but I know I did like some moves like Sun Also Rises. It's one of Adam Winrich's moves. I did a singleton special into a cyclone.
Did you do singleton special on both sides? Maybe
no, I think I only did the right hand.
Okay. Yeah.
And I will say, so when I was practicing before the trip, I was like able to get through a minute pretty consistently. When you're out cracking for like over an hour, so there comes a point where you do fatigue. But I was able to get through the cracks pretty good. But they're definitely, so I was feeling pretty good about that. But during the competition day, it was definitely a struggle at the end there, especially in the double, to get through all the cracks. I was definitely like really just trying to get through it. I was feeling the burn in the forearms.
Right. Do you feel like there is any benefit to, like, I've heard of different strategies. Slow down your required cracks. Slow down your routine in general to stretch it out a little bit. Now that doesn't help with your show off at the end for the, or do you think it's really important to really have a strong initial run as well?
I think optimally you want to be, keep yourself fresh so that you're ready for it, so that you can try to go at it like strong and try to keep it strong, at least for most of the time. Yeah. You might have a part where you're doing like a lot of cracks in a short time, then you might do something that isn't quite as tiring for like a few seconds or so. But then really the idea is to try to start strong and kind of keep that momentum going and then try to finish strong.
I see. So you don't look like you're petering out at the end. So you can kind of keep that same pace. How do you go about preparing for that? You mentioned that practicing for an hour. Is that every day? You practice that much?
So most of the time I tried, optimally, I'd like to practice 3 hours a day. Now that's going to include like little short breaks in between sets. That's not like 3 hours continuous cracking. That'd be like an all in one go. That'd
same
be crazy.
Set 180 times. Here we go.
But, and that would include like single whip, double whip, learning new things, drilling, some target work. So of course the target work's not as tiring.
True.
So some days I only end up getting, like this morning, I only got about 40 minutes in before I had to go to work. Some days I'm able to get like an hour and a half or 2 hours. And then sometimes I get off work in the evening. So sometimes I hit like 30 minutes to 60 minutes in the evening, a little nighttime whip cracking, which is really nice.
Do you live in an area that doesn't bother the neighbors?
Yeah, I live kind of close to the country. It's kind of back in the woods, so definitely not an issue over here for sure.
Right. What is your day job? What do you go off and do that distracts you from so much whip cracking?
So I'm actually a custodian for the school board.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so I originally worked in several different trade jobs. I worked in an auto shop. I worked in HVAC.
Okay.
And my last job was working on the roadways, like painting the roads and putting traffic signs in and stuff like that. And I actually had an impingement in this shoulder, and it was actually from my 9-foot whip, that 9-foot nylon bullwhip with the wooden handle I like to use a lot.
Right, yeah, for the cutting and stuff.
There was one day back in 2021, it was like February, where I was practicing with it for a really long time, and I think I overdid it, and it had like a little pop. So I had an issue with that for a little while. And then shortly after that, I ended up injuring this one. I think the reason that happened at all in both cases was basically not taking care of my shoulders, not stretching enough, not trying to strengthen them. And so I had to really tone back my whip cracking for a couple months in the first half of 2021. So I had to leave my one job, and I ended up just going to the school board as a custodian because it was something I could do at the time.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Wow. Actually, in the podcast that was recently released with Chris Wright and Robin, we talked a lot about stretching for whip making. And Robin brought up, actually, she was a little worried about you with some of the way that you do your neck and shoulders. You think some of that is you're protecting that shoulder the way when you use it? Or what is your stretching routine specifically?
Well, generally, I think one of the most important things with whip cracking is to warm up, warm your neck up, do some neck circles, do some shoulder circles. You can stretch like up here behind your back, but really just get them nice and loose, and that helps avoid injury. Because like if you don't do that and you jump right into some heavy sets, you'll definitely feel it pretty quickly. Right.
Yeah, Thursday when we showed up at for Whipcon, Isaac brought out his chain whip, and I should have warmed up more before I started throwing that thing around. I'd like to take my arm off.
Yeah, that thing's a monster, 5.5 pounds.
I feel like 4 times that. Do you do any other, like for your hands or any other lower back stuff, or is it just really mostly the neck and shoulders? I know my lower back gets pretty tired over time. Not that I practice 3 hours. But.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I try to just do some full body stretches, try to stretch my back, shoulders, legs, everything out.
Okay.
Just in general. Sometimes I don't do it every day like I should, but I try to do it pretty regularly to keep everything loose and try to avoid injury, because I've sprained my back multiple times. I've had a hip issue going on for a little while. It's not so bad now. I've had shoulder injuries and different things. I actually pulled my neck right after Christmas, so I had to take a couple days off practicing.
Ooh. Wow.
So yeah, that was kind of tight for a little bit, but that seems to have resolved now and be pretty good.
Take care of yourself, man. That's you only got the one body, so.
That's right, definitely, and that's what I've learned. Like especially first and foremost, you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that includes recovery too.
Right. That's awesome. What do you have? So yeah, you talked about your current job and how you're able to get your practicing in and all. Do you have like a dream job? Is there any way that it would relate to whip cracking perhaps?
So I've actually, when was the first one? I think it was back in 2021. I gave my first whip lesson. Someone reached, actually Adam referred her to me because she lives in the area. And that was my first time ever given like a formal lesson. And I wasn't so sure going into it, but it ended up being, it was really cool to like share the art of whip cracking. So I definitely enjoy showing it to others and teaching others how to do it.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. I don't know if I have like a set dream job. Definitely not be custodial work, but that's kind of just a.
I mean, working for the school board is probably cool, but yeah, maybe not custodial. Have you thought about any other performance type work? You made some mention of it, I think, when we were in California, wanting to.
Yeah, it is something that I'm like kind of exploring now. I think it'd be really cool to do like some type of performance gigs. Like, again, kind of relates back to entertaining people. They're having a good time, enjoying the whip cracking and just showing the art of the whip cracking.
Yeah, enjoying.
And I think that's pretty cool. I think that originally stemmed, for me at least, from just doing the videos. So back during the pandemic, so it was like February 2020. That's when I got back into whip cracking.
Just right before everything locked down.
Yeah, because I did jiu-jitsu for several years. So whip cracking was kind of just like a hobby for like 5 years for me. And then it was like 2020. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to like really get into whip cracking and try to get really good at it. And so...
I didn't know you were in jiu-jitsu. How far did you get? What was that like?
So I kept having so I got to blue belt and I had a few injuries like here and there and was out for little periods of time. But I'm definitely glad I did it because jiu-jitsu does help a lot. Well, I guess any martial art with your confidence and everything,
right?
And discipline. So I definitely enjoyed my time with that, but I do feel like I do kind of regret not getting back into whip cracking a little bit sooner, because I feel like I could have, if I got into it when I was a little bit younger, like I'd definitely be much farther along. But
I mean, the Australians show that is indeed, that's the secret to their success. Do you ever want to go over and compete against some of those kids that have done it their whole life?
I think that'd be totally awesome to be a part of one of their competitions. I will definitely have to learn quite a few more routines and do a lot of practice to even like really consider seriously going over there.
Right.
But it would definitely be cool that would be a very cool experience. And it'd be really cool to like meet up with some of them and just see how they go about with their whip cracking and their training. And just their whole tradition with it. The Australian style is very traditional. So yeah, that would definitely be something very cool. Plane tickets are really expensive right now, but true. I'm hoping maybe in a few years I'll be able to head on over there.
That'd be awesome. Did you learn a lot from... so Adam Winrich, for those who don't know, he had a Australian whip cracking workshop, I guess he called it. Do you feel like you learned some stuff there? He certainly demonstrated a few.
Yes, I feel like I definitely got a few really good tips with that. Just really like I guess kind of the mindset behind it, and then organizing how you're training and going about it, like how you're going about new moves. And
did you pick up anything like, I mean, I think you've done things like the hoof beats, and obviously you do all kinds of different combinations of Queensland crossover, but I wrote down this entire page of all the different cracks that he referenced in there. Lots of different types of cracks. Is there anything from that workshop that you feel like you took away?
I feel like, so some of those routines he did, like the Launceston special from Ben Hughes, and what other ones? I'm still working on the canter and the Philandia hoof beats and certain things and some of the other routines. But I think one big thing I took away from that was I was asking him about a very specific combination that he does out of the Queensland crossover with the Tasmanian cutback. I was kind of hoping he would like know it off the top of his head, but like he said if I can find that video again, I could try to learn it, but try not to get too caught up in learning the way he does a certain move, and try to focus more on making my own kind of
sure
routine based on, for example, the Queensland crossover and Tasmanian cutback.
Very cool. Yeah, I would like to see what you could come up there. Like I was just reading down, like, yeah, Ben's Helicopter and Paul's Magic and just like easy ones like the Breakaway and here Simon's Lightning, Drover Two Step. Like all of those are just such great routines that it's a lot to learn there. As you're continuing to practice, are you looking for something that's tied to what you're currently doing, or is there? How do you pick what to do next? What do you drill next?
So for me, back in 2020, when I started really getting back into the double whip cracking, I could do like Queensland crossover. I could do staggered volleys, but I couldn't do, for example, like all the rhythm stuff, and I wasn't very smooth at it. Okay. So I drilled that for a couple months. Then I was working on, for example, Adam Winrich's A and W combo. That's probably one of my favorite routines. The one where he's like a couple volleys in the left hand. That one. Right, it's got that kind of syncopation to it. The intertwine, I believe it's the Tasmanian crossover, and a few other routines and moves. And then I kind of just try to build off that. So like lately, like this past year, I'd spent a lot of time trying to work on the staggered four corners and the air ring corners. Okay. Still working on Daniel's chaser and some of the like four corners routines. And then trying to get a little better at doing different things in my right hand and left hand, trying to get like my left hand a little bit stronger, for example, with the four corners cracks. And there's definitely, like, I would say more than several Australian whip cracking routines that I really want to learn. Then there's some other routines from others, like Canadian Bacon from Justin Bareski.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then Todd Rex, he has like, is it Mr. Peaches? I believe that's what he calls one of his routines. That's super cool. And like, you could probably mess around, like do a lot of different things with that type of things. I'd like to explore as well. And sometimes I also want to try not to do like, I like the combination cracking a lot, like lots of combos, kind of high volume with the cracks. But sometimes it's really good to like get out of your element, use like a whip that you're not used to, like shorter whips. For example, I like the medium to longer length whips, but sometimes it's good to like use shorter whips or just something like totally out of your element and your comfort zone. Right. And try to get a little bit better with that.
Do you feel like certain whips are better tied to certain routines? Do you like switch sets of whips for different routines?
Yes. So you can definitely do a lot of four corner stuff. Like you can do four corner stuff with 5 or 5.5 foot stock whips, but a 6 foot stock whip's generally going to be a little better suited for it in most cases. Right. And it's going to be a little bit easier to hit all the cracks.
Yeah. If you get a lot shorter than that too, it'd probably be really hard.
Very speedy.
Yeah. Wow. So obviously you've just mentioned, I don't know, 10 or 12 different ones that are awesome. So tomorrow when you go out to practice, how do you decide what you're going to pick up? Do you have a particular one that you just drill and then you just like, this one sounds interesting and I'll just work on that? Or do you kind of keep a list and you work your way down it each day? Like you have your gym routine, got to do 10 sets of the bench press and the stock whip. So
I'd say it's definitely like a little bit more like a list in general. Sometimes I will just be like, oh, like the other day I was trying to work on, I believe it's Diana's crossover or the whip crackers salute, like the one that Adam does where you do basically a crossover behind your back. Right. So I was kind of taking a go at that. And I'm still learning that one, just trying to get a little better at hitting that cut back and getting that flick a little bit more consistently. Sure. And then trying to get better at the double Tasmanian cut back behind the back and then trying to stagger it and start building up for that. So sometimes like on a whim, I'll be like, oh, I'm going to try this move routine is like something I want to learn. I'm going to try to practice that, even though I'll be working on, say, like 5 or 6 other different things. But I do think I need to try to narrow down and hit like 1 or 2 things and like really focus more on that and kind of nail it down, then move on.
Kit was mentioning that in his whip flow class as well, to have a focused practice similar to learning music was the way he compared it, to where you pick your chord or your particular song you're trying to practice and work on that until you nail it. I could certainly see how that ties into whip cracking. And with the Whip 101, you helped out on that. Is that right?
Yeah, I did 2 challenges. I did one for each year.
Right. And you really broke that down into really tiny steps so that each person could work on combining them and building it into a routine for each of the different challenges there. Do you feel like you do something similar yourself, or how do you break up a routine when you see it?
So this was actually something I was talking with Adam about a little bit, because I'm trying to, for example, take another routine, Maelstrom from Luke Fritsch over in Australia.
Yep.
And that's a very, very tough routine that doesn't involve the 4 corners. It's a routine. I can do all the cracks in each hand, single whip, but trying to put it all together. And he was giving some tips on like how to go about that. When I'm usually trying to learn a new routine, first I try to just get what I call the form of it. So I might not be nailing all of the cracks, but the basic motion for it. Mm-hmm. So like, for example, again, like with the staggered 4 corners, at first it was just trying to you got to learn your together time 4 corners,
right?
Then learn how to just get the motion for staggering it. And you might not be nailing all the cracks, but then just progressing with that and then trying to learn each little detail of how you can nail all the cracks and get the rhythm, the beat, the flow, and then like all the different variables, and just try to like really nail each little thing down and get closer and closer until you finally have like the full routine.
So it sounds like you're building it. You build a form and then you start putting the pieces together in detail, something like that.
Yeah, that's a
I like that.
Good way to put it.
I like that. You also do some really interesting other target work. Let me see. I think I have a video here. So on this one, I think you're just going to do... Oh yeah, decompressing. This is how Ian decompresses. So relaxing.
Yeah. And these are... So lately I've been actually like really enjoying the 5-foot performance hybrids. These were made by Alyssa, and I actually bought them from her at the con, and they crack really very smoothly.
Yeah, Iris whips. Yeah, I cracked some of hers too. They are nice.
And then sometimes you find little combos, like that was just doing like a 4 corner in one hand and a ball in the other, then going into the double breakaway. So you'll find like little routines and stuff like that. You'll find like little flows that you enjoy too. And everybody's got like, like different routines that they enjoy doing. And for me, I try to always like there's definitely like a lot of routines I do like consistently, kind of like the style, but I try to like explore and learn different ones and like all the different ways you can go about it.
I could see that, and it shows how you have different pieces there, even with that little routine there. They have distinct segments that you've pieced together, and it's very impressive, and you can just hear how each one is really punchy. And then there's this one, your can drop one. I love this video.
Oh yeah, Adam shared a memory of this one, and he was like, "Ian Cameron, you should try this." And so I definitely had to give it a go for sure.
Right here. So throw out the whip, cross there. What's up? I love it.
So the hardest part for me with this one wasn't getting, of course, sometimes I spilled the cup, but the hardest part for me was because I was using a 20-foot whip. I don't have like a 30-foot whip. So the hardest part was me to get my arms to cross into like before it actually hit the bottle. So for me, that was the actual hardest part of this trick.
Wow. That's a nice whip too. Who made that?
Yeah, So that's a 20-foot bullwhip made by Isaac, Elias and Whipco.
Yeah.
And
oh, very nice.
that is a very, very nice whip. And the transition area on that's very, very strong. And I feel like you got a very good control with it.
Awesome. Yeah, clearly the targeting is awesome with it. I would love to get a whip like that. I don't have any that are that long. I have a 12-foot, but that's about as long as I go.
12 foot's pretty fun. But yeah, I definitely recommend at some point getting I have a 2 20-foot whips, but it's definitely worth the investment to get one at least at some point.
Yeah, I played with Isaac, one of his 20-foot whips on Thursday. We were taking bottles out of the tree. Somebody would climb up and put up a bottle up on a branch, and we were taking it out.
Hitting them out the tree.
Yeah, it was great. It might be in one of Nick's videos if he, whenever he puts it all together. Nick Schrader. All right, so this one is from can cutting. So this one is really, I think you just did this the other day too.
Yeah, I think it was just like 2 or 3 days ago.
Whoops. And of course it opens it in the wrong window. Let's see how yeah, wow. I don't know why it's not making it full screen for me, and you gotta take a sip, of course.
Definitely, anytime you get a perfect cut, it's like a requirement.
Look at that.
So actually, this brings up a really interesting point. So at both times I've gone to the LA Whipcon, I've used a couple other whips to try to do can cutting.
Yeah.
And I actually wasn't too good with them. So this is my 9-foot bullet from Torrance Fisher. Okay. And I have like several other whips that I do use for can cutting sometimes. I even sometimes use Torrance's. I have a set of 6-foot 275 stocks from him. They'll cut a can. And I have some other whips. But I definitely, like, for example, I tried to use one of Spencer's cow whips to cut a can. Yeah. And I wasn't quite able to do it. So I think definitely finding a whip that works for you, basically, you know what I mean? So, and what you practice with the most makes a big difference. I get asked about that trick like a lot, what type of popper I use, and a lot of people trying to learn it.
Yeah. Do you feel like changing the popper? I know some people, they call them like a chainsaw cracker with lots of knots in it, or extra long fall, or what do you do to...
Yeah, so you can use a normal popper, and sometimes I'll put a normal popper on when I really want to try to be a little bit more precise, but putting a chainsaw popper does make it like a lot easier, because when you're using like a normal size popper, like let's say like an 8-inch popper, again, you got to hit with there's some rare instances you can slice through the can with the fall, but most of the time you got to hit with the popper while the whip's cracking. So when you have like, say, 18-inch or so chainsaw popper, it just makes it so much easier to, I use my glass of water right here, to connect this way versus just nicking the can or getting too far forward and hitting with the fall. So it makes it a lot easier. And I usually just use, everybody gets, not everybody, but a lot of people seem to get very hung up on the material. I get asked that a lot. And I usually just use bonded nylon string. And I don't think the material in most cases matters too much, but it works just fine.
Awesome. Do you crack? So the point is you want it to crack right before it would normally make contact with the can, so that goes supersonic through the can, or do you want to like crack like in front of it?
So let me set my camera right here for a second. So,
because I've always struggled with this.
So let's see if I can do this on the camera. Give a good illustration.
Let's see if I can get you go.
So basically, most people, let's say they're using their right hand. Like from my perspective, it's on the left side of the screen for you guys, but we'll have the whip crack over here on the right side, and then the popper is hitting the can on the follow through when you lose most of the power. So I learned basically from Adam Winrich's tutorial to aim to the left side of the can. So because the whip actually cracks, it doesn't just go straight out and crack right at the tip like that. It actually cracks back here and then it follows through.
Ah.
So if you're using your right hand to the left side of the can, the full crack will happen right here, and it'll help rip through the can. So for most people, most instances, they're aiming too far to the right, and they need to aim the crack farther to their left side, and vice versa if you're using your left hand.
Right. Yeah, I think that's exactly what I've been doing. I end up with the imprint of the twist of the cracker into the can a whole bunch of times. It's just not going fast enough, I guess. And do you want it to hit with the broadside of the twisted part of the cracker? Or are you wanting to like get the tip to go through the middle of the can? I guess you got to cut all the way through. You want to be past it.
Yeah, generally you want to have the popper going a little bit past it, because if it's not going like past it enough, then it's just going to cut through the front half of the can.
Yeah, good point.
So you really want it to go like past it a little bit so that it can kind of sort of wrap around the can and rip through it.
Yeah, okay. And now I want to go tear up some cans.
Bust some cans up.
Yeah, I spent 1 week. I was out there just basically every day. That's what I was focusing on. And I went out there one afternoon. It was summer. It was hot. And I looked up and I bought it was a super cheap off-brand it was just like called Cola or something. No, it was Dr. something. So it was off-brand Dr. Pepper. It was like Dr. Cola. And all over the side of my house was black speckles of the dried soda that had splattered. So instead of practicing that day, I hosed down the side of the house. That was not fun. Just those things you don't think about.
Yeah, it definitely, depending on where you're at. Like I'm usually out in the yard closer to the woods, so it's not like a big deal. The only issue I have is in the summertime, if I'm busting like a bunch of cans up, sometimes I'll have like some yellow jackets come out and be kind of all over the place. And usually they don't bother you or nothing, but
have you had many
definitely not trying to track them.
Funny incidents or strange incidents while you're trying to learn some of these routines?
Any strange instances? I've accidentally broke my coffee mugs a couple times.
No. Just like the one you're holding?
No, when I just have it on like one of my stands nearby and I'm just like cracking and then not paying it. One of the biggest things with whip cracking is paying attention to your surroundings.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it just knocks it off the thing and breaks it.
Yeah. So do you have any like specific goals? I mean, obviously you've got the can cutting down. Is there a specific goal you're working on for this year? I mean, not that you want to reveal any of your secrets for next year's competition, but do you feel like I just want to get that maelstrom down this year or something?
That's definitely one of them. There's definitely quite a few routines I want to try to nail down. And I think another big goal for me this year is to try to get a little bit stronger. And I think that'll also help with especially the double two-handed whip cracking. And I'd like to actually start going after, like just start with one, try to start going after a few world records. I think that would be fun.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that
so,
you can volley pretty fast. Yeah, that might be in your wheelhouse for most of our cracks in a minute. Have you tried?
I would definitely have to train a ton for that. So I think for the single bullwhip, I think Jack the Whipper still holds that record.
I believe so.
And he trained for, I believe he said 2 years. Oh. Like he did like a full like gym regimen and like put on a lot of muscle and like really, I think it actually ended up messing up his shoulder, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what happened. But definitely a big toll on the body for sure. And then I don't know who currently holds the double. I think there's a couple records. So I don't know who currently holds the double one.
I know Griggs held it for a while, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't know Nathan Griggs. He held it for a good while, I think.
I didn't think to look it up before this interview. That'd be really awesome. And especially if you come up with some other ideas. I know Adam and Jennifer Choi and other people are always looking for new, interesting ones that they can have added to the world records. So, most was it the most eggs cracked or balloons cracked? I forget which one of them. One of those, they maybe both of them, they sent the proposal, and this would be a really visual, cool thing to do and to make a record out of. And they agreed, apparently. I'll have to ask them if I have them on the show. But you should be thinking about that, because you could... I've seen some of your cutting stuff, and how many zucchini can you cut in an hour, in 1 minute or something? I don't know.
An hour?
Not an hour. Sorry, no.
Endurance test.
But yeah, let's see here. I've got a whole page of questions I wanted to ask you. You have such skill, like just watching you do some stuff that I'm struggling with just so easily. It's very impressive. And I appreciate the videos that you've already put up. Do you have any plans for making more videos, like training style, showing people how to do some, like Adam or somebody like that? And if so, what were you thinking?
So that's definitely something that I've been kicking around for a while, and honestly should have been already doing it, but definitely want to try to do tutorials, not just on like tricks that I do, but like, again, so there's like a lot of good tutorials out there from like Adam Winrich and Justin Boreski and others on a lot of different tricks, a lot of beginner, intermediate, and advanced tricks. And Ben Hughes also has some really nice tutorials that I also like to reference as well. I'd like to do a lot of tutorials, even on some of those moves from others that I've already been on YouTube for a good while, just to, have my take on it.
Yeah.
And definitely like other things too, like with the soda cans and like different tricks and stuff. But yeah, and then also just like the theory behind whip cracking and that kind of thing. So that's definitely something I'd like to start doing a little bit more of.
I mean, from my perspective, when I'm watching, just that one, the Ian relaxing after Whipcon video, it just looks like you've tied your whip to a ceiling fan and you're going nuts. It's I have to really focus to realize all the different pieces that you're doing. It's like they all should be called a maelstrom. Like that's the best name for whip crack. It's that there's just a lot going on. It's intimidating, honestly. And when I want to approach learning a new trick, it's difficult to break it down. And seeing a lot of different people talk about the same thing is super helpful. So yeah, please do. Even like probably the one that I struggled with the most, if I had to say I was scared of one, was early on the backwards overhead. Because it's coming right
like
at
your
reverse
face. Overhead crack.
Yeah, but no, not reverse. So it's in front, but actually you want it to crack behind you. So so you can do overhead crack, so it swings out in front and the coil goes forward. But you can do that and have it coil go backwards also. It's kind of almost like you do an overhead volley. It's cracking behind you and in front of you.
Okay.
So maybe I gave it the wrong name, but I remember watching.
Are you talking about where you go a little bit farther, like a coachman's, or like part of the slow and fast helicopter?
Yeah, exactly. It would be like similar to the slow and fast helicopter.
Okay.
Yeah, but just doing the one crack. Back when I was really like, I got the cattleman's down. I can do, I can do fast figure eight, and I can do an overhead. Now I'm going to try and do overhead back there, and I was scared to death because it was coming at my face. And I hit myself plenty of times. Glasses, hats, big long coats in the summer. And watching different people do it and how they moved their body and moved their arm. And each person is obviously Jennifer and Adam and there's a third person. And I was comparing all three of their videos. Very different body shapes, very different styles of cracking. And it took all of them for me to overcome that small hurdle. And now it's super easy to do. I think I would still wear safety glasses, but it's Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm ever doing anything that's a little sketchy for me, I do go ahead and throw. It's like I get asked that a lot too. It's like if I'm doing something that's like really sketchy for me, I will sometimes put safety glasses on. And that's a good point that you just brought up, what we were just talking about with doing the tutorials. Sometimes you hear a piece of information from one person and it kind of sticks a little bit, and then somebody else goes over the same routine or move, but they explain it a slightly different way, and that gives you like another piece. And sometimes it just takes hearing it a different way or explained slightly different to help it really all click. And I think that's also really helpful. So the more people doing tutorials and stuff, the more helpful it's going to be for everybody, honestly.
Absolutely. So don't feel like you don't need to do a tutorial on anything. Like if you're inspired to make a tutorial on whatever, certainly add another one to YouTube. I will watch it.
I definitely need to make a YouTube channel for sure.
Yeah, you
very
do.
soon.
And especially if you can get a similar name to what you have on, I think it's Instagram. You're the Indian
Jones.
That's so great. So clever. That's awesome. Let's see. So I've got some fun questions here that are just kind of, I was looking through like icebreaker questions and things like that for these interviews, and there's always fun ones to throw in there. But so obviously we all have most of us have day jobs that we have to go, like we talked about earlier. But if you had like $1 million or $100 million, so you don't have to go in anymore. You can live where you want. You can do what you want with your time. What would you be doing? How much of it would be whip cracking, and what else would you be doing?
So in that scenario, I would definitely do a lot of whip cracking as much as I can, for
Heck
sure.
Yeah.
I try to definitely teach whip cracking to others and try to spread whip cracking in a positive way.
Yeah, that's important.
That would definitely be a big thing. Probably do some performances. I don't know how many, but like demonstrations and everything. I'd probably go and try to like rescue dogs and cats off the street, honestly.
Aww.
In that case, just start like a whole thing. That's something I might try to do one day as well anyway.
Do you have it sounds like you have a passion for animals that are in trouble there.
Yeah. I've definitely always, I grew up in the woods, and we've always had like dogs and cats and everything. So I definitely have like a soft spot for them. Again, I think it's just good to do something meaningful in the world. It doesn't really matter what it is. Like some people with their careers, for example, whether it's teaching or anything really, for example, just try to do something to give back to society. So, I mean, we do that with our jobs and everything, but it'd be cool to do something that's like extra meaningful to you.
Yeah, meaningful. Like, so what is about that dogs and cats? Have you had experience with animals that have been abused or been through hard times?
We've saved a couple animals off the street, and like our one dog, Abel, he was in a pretty bad situation with his owners. Aww. They definitely weren't treating him very good. And so we were able to like, basically give him a good home. He was like one of those dogs where it would have been very tough for him to find a home, like, cause he had like a bunch of issues. So he was like 6 months old when we got him. Yeah. And, he could be pretty aggressive, and, he was growling at all of us, and just like very, very, kind of difficult to be around. Sure. But so it took a lot of patience, and he's again not like perfect, but like he's definitely like he's come a long way. So yeah, it's definitely rewarding to see that.
Rewarding, like how, like just
to see like this dog go for example, they kept him in a crate all the time. So it was kind of tough for him to even like to walk right. Mm-hmm. So his joints weren't very strong. Ooh. And I don't know if they fed him enough and everything. But anyway, to go from that to being strong and healthy, but also like to go from growling at us all the time to like wanting to sit on the couch with you. You know what I mean? So like just the total growth, getting better with visitors to the house too.
Wow. Yeah, I can see what you mean by that. That is, and I've seen some really poor animals that have had hard times in their lives, and that's really big of you to do that. And I hope you'll have the opportunity to continue to, share your big heart with the world and help out more animals. That's awesome. I didn't know you had that going on. Do you have other animals there living close to the woods? Or do you have like, I don't know, horses or chickens or anything?
We had chickens at one point for a little while. We just currently have 3 dogs and a cat. And of course, you have like the occasional bear that comes into the yard and other wildlife.
Wow.
Yeah, I've had this. Last year, I had to scare one away with my whips. It was like wandering in the yard, getting like a little, like repeatedly getting like a little too comfortable.
Oh my goodness.
Which again, of course, you don't want the wild animals to get too comfortable around people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow.
It's not like to be mean or nothing, of course.
Sure.
Just not to get too comfortable.
Yeah, they hard to get comfortable with loud cracking going on, I guess.
I've actually had a bear one time. I swear on my life. I was out practicing. I was doing like some two-handed stuff out by the woods. And something came to the edge of the yard, like back in the woods. And my dogs, Tank and Abel, just ran back the woods, and I like ran after them because I didn't know what they were chasing. And I saw the bear like running off. So the bear came, I don't know how close exactly, like pretty close up to the edge of the yard. I guess, I don't know if it was out of curiosity or just ignoring. And that's another question people ask about, like, oh, whip would be really great to scare a bear away. I'm like, it definitely would probably work in most cases, but I wouldn't bank on that, honestly.
Yeah, apparently not. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it was very weird. It was kind of strange, but definitely I think people should at least be aware of that for sure.
Yeah. Wow. So let's see. I've got some other questions here. So what are some other whip crackers that you look up to? I mean, you've mentioned several. You mentioned Ben Hughes when we were talking about the lessons from Adam. But is there anybody in particular, and why?
So there's definitely quite a few in the community that I look up to. So I would actually go as far as to say Adam Winrich is he's kind of like my hero. He's sort of the reason I got into.
I understand,
that sounds kind of corny, but
no.
He's kind of the reason I got into whip cracking, and he's done a lot of things, and I really do look up to him and everything he's done, and also just how he's given back to everybody. Like he's really helped whip cracking grow all around the world, especially here in the States. I look up to Todd Rex, Justin Boreski, Ben Hughes.
What is it about Todd that, I mean, just those are all big names. Yeah. What is it about each of these guys that, I mean, Todd's an awesome guy.
So he's just an awesome guy. What I look up to him as far as whip cracking is I love that he found his own style and he's just very much himself. Because like he could try to learn, for example, like all the Australian whip cracking routines, but I like how and same thing with like Justin, for example, they just kind of go their own way and they use the whip to express themselves in a way that is fulfilling to them. And the stuff they can do, like every time I see them in person, like the moves they do, it just blows me away. It's like, wow, that is just super impressive. And also different. It's not like, again, like the traditional Australian whip cracking style, which I also look up to, Ben Hughes and a lot of the Australian whip crackers as well, kind of for the same reason, but that they're extremely good at those moves. But it's really cool when one of my biggest things, I guess, with whip cracking is it's a very personal thing. So again, some people are more into the target work, some people like single whip or indie whips or double whip or different styles of whip cracking. So one thing I really just love about whip cracking is when people truly find a meaningful way to express themselves with the whip. Whatever it is. Some people dance with the whip. Some people do like a more martial arts kind of style, Indiana Jones and
right.
And so I really like to see all the different stuff people come up with. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I agree. It really is. And unlike, like you said, it expresses the person, and it seems to be fulfilling for that person, to use your term. Yeah, fulfilling, I think, is a great word. So do you have anybody like over in the Australian circuit, for instance, that you follow, or most of them are the American side? I mean, you mentioned Ben Hughes.
Yeah, Ben for sure. I really love how he has his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
With some of his tutorials. I find that to be also really helpful. I haven't seen a lot of videos of a lot of the other Australian whip crackers.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a video of Daniel Wicks competing. I think it was 2019, I believe. Australian Whip Cracking Championship. I haven't seen a lot of videos, for example, of like James Scott or Emma Quilla East, but again, they are superb whip crackers, and like the little bit I have seen is super duper impressive. Wow. And I just have a high respect for that. Also, Danny Shaw.
Oh, yeah.
His whip cracking is absolutely phenomenal, and anytime, like all of these people really inspire me. So,
do they inspire certain things, or is it just like a generic sort of thing? How does it inspire you?
So I think each person might inspire. Again, I think it's kind of both, to answer your question. On one hand, there's like a general, I guess, inspiration, but then it's also like specific things, of course. So like, for example, like Danny Shaw's super great at the two-handed routines.
Yeah.
I really like how he went through all 5 of the 4 corners, double whip variations, like together time, staggered each way,
oh, right.
chaser, windmill, and then back again. So things like that.
That's
people that do like the target work and just pretty much all the tricks and different types of tricks. So in that respect, like, you know, it inspires you in like specific disciplines with the whip cracking, different areas.
Yeah.
Adam Winrich with like his rhythm cracking, it's like super duper smooth.
Yeah, it's music, you know, it really is. What sort of you've mentioned targeting, and we touched on it, of course, with the can cutting. Do you feel like or I feel like targeting is not represented as much as a lot of the other. I mean, in some sense, it's just, okay, you hit the one target versus having these complex routines. I talked to Keith Smith quite a bit, and he posts really fun targeting videos of multiple targets and moving things, and he puts a action figure of Jar Jar Binks and blows it across the yard, you know.
Yeah, he has some great videos. I love the style of his videos. They're very fun. They are,
and to me, they're inspiring. They're very Keith, but I mean, they show his personality. How do you think a targeting video for Ian would go? What is it that you think we could expand on with targeting for you?
I feel like in my videos, like up to this point, I'm kind of just like really to the point. And again, maybe it's not, I guess one of my biggest things I'm trying to learn is to be a little bit more expressive, like not just do the movement or the trick, but try to express yourself a little bit more. That could include having like moments like talking, or again, like how he does with like he'll have like that, like Star Wars figures and different things in the music and everything. So definitely like could try to express myself a little bit more in those kind of regards, instead of just being like when you watch one of my videos, it's like sometimes it's like maybe almost a little too to the point. It's just like boom, hit the trick. It's like, oh, that's cool. But
right. I mean, I don't really get a sense of you as a person or much of an expression when it's just to the point. And you know, short form videos are all the rage right now, and you don't get much of a storyline in 10 seconds or whatever. But yeah, you can do that.
And I feel like that's actually probably one of my issues with social media. So I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not like super big into social media. I do it just because of the whip stuff, but like some of my videos, for example, that like go viral and stuff, I'll be like doing a trick very to the point, but it might be better to like, again, do videos kind of more like, I'll just use, for example, Adam and Jack the Whipper, where, again, being a little bit more expressive and not just doing the trick, showing a little bit of yourself too, like we were just talking about. That might be to build a better connection with your audience, and
yeah, for sure,
might just go over a little better.
And I think, Adam's really good at that when you see his shows in person. I don't know how many Whip performances you've seen.
The Whippy show was the first. So here's the ironic part that was really fun. I don't know if it was either the day before or the day they announced the Whippy show. I can't remember. It was either the day before or the same day. I watched one of Adam's performances. I believe it was at the Texas Renaissance Festival from several years ago. It was on YouTube.
Okay.
And I was like, dang, I've never watched a real Whip show from like somebody else. That would be super cool.
Yeah. And
then it was right after that they announced the Whip show with Adam, Bonk, Leo Orleans, and Jack. And I thought, wow, that is super cool. And of course, it was going to be right when we were going to LA. So
yeah, exactly.
That was kind of just like a no-brainer to do.
Yeah, I was very thankful to be able to attend that as well, and got my signed poster by everybody and everything. So it was.
Yeah, they knocked it out of the park. I was laughing. I was having a really good time. So I really like how they blended all of their stuff together. It was great.
And they're all
very inspiring.
So different styles, different personalities, different styles of performances. They're all involving whips, and they tied it together in such a wonderful show. And there's a few clips out there on different pieces of it, but you should definitely go check it out if anybody that's listening hasn't seen some of these people perform. Do you feel like that inspired you to want to create a cohesive routine of any kind, to be able to tell a story? Like Adam did the whole Indiana Jones theme, where he told the story from that perspective. That was fun, for example.
Yeah, I would definitely say it definitely got the gears going in my brain. Like, okay, it would be kind of cool. Again, like I was just talking about how I normally do videos and stuff. It'd be really cool to, express a little bit more, make it a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
To do something like that. Plus, I wouldn't say I'm not a very extroverted person. I'm very introverted and trying to get better. Socializing and everything. Right. So it'd definitely be cool to like get out the comfort zone a little bit too.
Hey, you're here, right? This is great. And like, I was just thinking through what we've already talked about. I would love to see you have a dramatic recreation with your whips about chasing a bear off and chasing down your dogs and seeing a bear. That is a brilliant idea, actually. Now I got multiple ideas popping into my head with that. You get out there and
dramatic and
there's a little stuffed bear on the tree that you have to chase. Oh, no. Dramatic recreation. See, you can have fun with it. And that's you. That's where you live. That's your life. That's what happens. And especially if you could involve your dogs, because that's one of your other passions, and have them as that's part of your life. And I hope to see that soon.
Okay, now I might have to take you up on that idea.
See, we can talk after. I have ideas for you. Yeah, lots of fun there. Oh man, I lost my place here. So what's next for you, I guess is the question. I don't even know if I went over the actual results of the entire competition before we talk about what's next. But obviously you did amazing at the show itself. Let me get the official results here. You took second place at the obstacle course. Congratulations. That I
was not expecting that, but that was actually really fun.
Wasn't it?
When I first heard about the obstacle course, I was kind of like, that'd be kind of a cool idea. I thought it was a cool idea.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really cool they were adding it in.
Yeah.
As far as like, for me personally, I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but actually doing it, it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
And I like how for the advanced group, they had you pop a balloon. So I thought that was a cool touch.
So for people that weren't there, can you describe kind of what happened?
So for that one, you had to do a cattleman's crack in your right hand, go behind your back, hit one in your left hand. And then for the advanced group, you had to do some type of release. So I did like not as good as Todd, but basically like a quick gainer toss.
Right.
then you had to hit a piece of spaghetti, and then they had it was on a T-target stand.
Yeah.
And then you just had to hit the spaghetti one time, and then you had to try to wrap a scarf, and if you could catch it before it hit the ground, you would get 5 seconds off I think it was 5 seconds off your time. It was
a lot, yeah.
And then they got really creative. You had to do like a full-on forward roll. Like you had to really go for it.
Yeah.
And then you had to pop the balloon off the stand. And I think some people were trying to do like overhead crack and cattleman's crack. And you can definitely pop a balloon that way. But I feel like in that instance, like a sidearm was the way to go.
Right. Especially if that's what you've been practicing for things like cutting cans. You know right where that's going to hit and what would be most effective. Man, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I didn't do the expert, so I had, instead of roll, I did the full, I had to turn around in a circle before I...
Oh, you had to do 2 circles.
2 circles, yeah, I had to...
Real quick.
That was...
almost every single person like would start to forget and be reminded from the audience, so that was kind of funny.
That was a lot of fun. And then, let's see, single whip freestyle expert, Leah Orleans came in first, and you got second, with Justin bringing up the third. That was the video we saw earlier. That was amazing. Of course, Leah did a routine that was, I believe, out of her show. That obviously was choreographed and done super confidently.
That right there actually brings me to one of the biggest lessons. I learned a lot of stuff from the Whipcon. That was one big lesson I actually learned from Leah, was confidence. So I was telling you earlier with the single whip, I don't know how easy it was for everybody to tell, but during the middle of it, I don't remember if I missed 1 or 2 cracks, but I kind of like lost my confidence, like full on. I was like, wow. So that's why I didn't do like the original routine and all the moves I had planned. I was going to do some harder moves, but really I got very stuck in my head in the moment. So I was like divided between 2 different things and lost my confidence and my groove. So that was a big lesson I learned from that, was to try to be a little bit more confident in myself. And it started before we even went out for the single whip. So the doubt kind of set in. So
right.
Definitely something personal for me to work on for sure.
How do you handle like nerves and like right before that's usually where I break down is right before I know I'm ready to go, walk up there and then it's time. And it's like, I don't remember my name.
Just kind of blank out.
Right. It's just
as far as nerves, honestly, just try to breathe. And actually last year at the Whipcon, right before the competition, Pete Gamble, he was telling me, he's like, just breathe, basically just relax. Like you need to just calm down, relax, breathe. And honestly, just focus on your breath and don't think negative. Just try to clear your mind and just focus on what you got to do. Because if you entertain those negative thoughts and everything, or you get too overthinking, caught up between different, I could do this or I could do that, and that's kind of what happened to me, and it definitely doesn't work out as well. So definitely just try to clear your mind, breathe before you perform.
Do you have like
try to have that focus?
Do you have like a thing you say to yourself, or like a or moment before you start? Anything like that?
A lot of people have, like, I guess, little mantras they say. I try to I try to really clear my mind and focus on my breath and just be like, breathe, relax. And I'd be lying if I said, like, especially for the double whip, like, don't miss any cracks. Like, sometimes I would say that to myself, but I try to really just clear my mind, focus on the breathing.
Okay. Yeah, I talked to Kit, Tenisoff, I believe is how you say his last name. He had the flow workshop, and I talked to him after my performance, and he was saying something very similar. And he mentioned also maybe having a memory or a place you could go to in your head of peace and focusing on breathing. He mentioned that specifically. So yeah, I was talking to some people at the Whipcon as well, that I've got that I do for other things, like at work when I have a big presentation I have to make in front of important people. I have things I do in my head to calm down, and I didn't think about using it for the for the performance. So yeah, it's interesting you said that as well.
And I think also especially here, like for example in the States with the LA Whipcon, one thing. So take other sports, like, for example, like let's take Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for example.
Okay.
They have competitions all over the place all year. And a lot of people, there's quite a few people that don't compete, but the opportunity to compete is like pretty plentiful.
Yeah.
So like, and depending on how far you want to go with it and everything, you could potentially hit quite a few competitions in a year. Of course, if you don't have too many injuries or anything.
Right.
Keep healthy and everything. With the LA Whipcon here, there's not like a lot of whip cracking competitions here around. And I don't know how many are in Australia, but they do have like other regional tournaments like in different areas. So somebody that's like really into whip cracking could go compete at multiple competitions. And again, the more you do something, the better you can get at it.
Right.
So I do feel like there is a lot of pressure, especially at the LA Whipcon, because it's like, it's like once a year type of thing. It's like, you know what I mean? So it's like the pressure's on.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like quite like the Olympics where you got to wait 7 years, but it's almost.
Yeah, not quite to that extent, but for sure.
Wow. And let's see. And yeah, like you mentioned, the double whip, of course, first place, which is awesome.
I was very, very surprised when he called me up. I was not expecting that at all. Like, honestly, for truly, I wasn't expecting it. It was one of my goals this year was to try to do better at the double whip. Last year, I wanted to just place in the double whip. Mm-hmm. This year, it was like, if I could get gold, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, first place beat out Todd Rex for second place. Can you believe it? And Eli Hooper for third place. All amazing whip crackers.
Yeah, they did excellent performances. I thought all of them, Justin, everybody, I thought they knocked it out the park, honestly.
Yeah, Justin took third in the single. And yeah, some of the stuff he did some really incredible tosses and behind the neck stuff with his normal body contact that he's so good at that honestly is super risky.
And the fact that he does it live is just like, I'm just going to do this live. And I'm just like, wow. And it kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat, so to speak.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
And then, of course, the last one that was speed and accuracy. You took second place. So Torrance Fisher got first place, hitting 10 for 10 out of the targets. And I think you got 9, but super fast.
9. I fumbled on the last one. And I think so this is another lesson I learned from this Whipcon. And I'm not sure if it would have made the difference or not. But so I have 4 PVC target stands. I don't know if you've seen April Jennifer Choi's YouTube tutorial on how to make like a cheap PVC target stand.
Probably.
And so I made 4 of them. So that's 8 pieces of spaghetti. And I didn't do a ton of practice with that, but I did go out and practice. Like there was multiple practice sessions where I was doing that, like back in December. But again, I was always going for 8, and I was starting to feel like half decent with it, don't get it every single time. But I feel like if I had made an extra target stand on 5, really try to emulate what the competition was, I'd probably done better. Because I fumbled right on the last one. I was using a 6-foot stock whip and I brought it up. I don't know if I brought up like a little slow, and I didn't bring it up smooth and cut down with it. It kind of just folded on itself, fumbled. So
yeah, I was going to ask which whip you used on that.
So I actually used Adam's 6-foot stock whip, the tan, black, and green one. The one I used in the single whip.
The 275?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite whip to use.
I have one of my favorite whips also. That's one I bought from him. The 275.
What length is that one?
5 foot, I believe. But yeah, it's
ooh, that has some super sweet braiding.
Yeah, goes a ton up, and he's got spots all off and on all throughout it. It's I'm very impressed with it, and it feels a lot like the one that actually won this year in the whip making. The way that this is balanced, well, most of his feel very similar, but just amazing.
Absolutely, and as far as anybody, I get a lot of questions. For example, I'll use a video, for example, using like Adam's, one of his, either like the single one or this pair I have from him. And I've had people ask well, where can I get this whip? Can I buy it off Amazon? It's like, no, there's actually only a few people in the world that make whips out of 275.
Right.
It's starting to get a little more popular, and I'm glad to see that because I really love the material.
Yep.
But those whips, like his model specifically, is like some of the best balanced, probably in my mind so far, the most balanced whips I've used for sure.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to try the Justin Baretsky signature whip that he brought out this year with Chris Wright, made by Chris Wright?
Yes, I did. And
it feels a
I
little
actually
different.
have.
Ooh.
So it's interesting. I got a set of, I need to clean them off, 6 foot. So these are basically similar to the JB line, but these have 6 foot thongs. I use these actually in the double whip.
Oh, nice.
So they're very similar to that, except half a foot longer for the thongs.
Okay.
And they crack really good.
Are those made by Adam or who?
Oh, those are from Christopher Wright.
Oh, those are from Christopher Wright. Nice.
So the only difference with these is they have 6 foot thongs, and the JB line that you're talking about, they have 5.5 foot thongs. So I really like these ones, and I was very curious to try the 5.5 foot thong ones. So that's the JB line, and they cracked like very, very good. And you could actually hit the four. They were a little speedier, but you could hit the 4 corners really good with them as well. Like very well balanced.
Awesome. Yeah, I enjoyed cracking them as well. I definitely going on my wish list for this Christmas. Let's see, and then let's see for the. So yeah, you missed the 9th one, but Torrance got all 10 of them. However, I think your time would have been like 50% faster. Maybe 25%. It was because you were nailing them really quickly.
I was actually surprised how fast I was going with it. And when I went to the first one lined up, I kind of closed my one eye and I was like trying to line myself up. And that actually helped a lot, and then just helped me get my rhythm. And I was originally going to use the whip I used in the speed. I'm sorry, not the speed and accuracy, the obstacle course. I used a 5 foot nylon board from Torrance. And but it was a little short for the toe line.
Yeah, they moved it out.
So I just bumped up to the 6 foot stock, but you could still move pretty quick with that for that exercise.
Nice. And then Todd took 3rd place. I believe, did he get 8 or 9? I think he also got 9, just a little slower.
I think he got 9. And if I'm recalling correctly, I think he was actually going the fastest speed. And then I think he stopped for some reason, or I think he thought he was out or something. And then he like went back and hit it again. Unless I'm totally like misremembering. I believe that's what happened.
Yeah, I'll have to watch. I think there's some videos. There's a couple other people that posted videos of the event. And I highly recommend people that are listening go check it out. Do you feel like this event compared well to other ones that you've been to the previous years?
So this was the second one I've been to, but I do feel this event had a very strong turnout, and I
mean, I was there.
I
so
definitely.
Of course.
Yeah, there was you and a bunch of new faces were there, and that was really cool to see. It was really cool just to get a bunch of new faces there compared to last year. And again, I wasn't there for the previous years before that, but I definitely enjoyed the vibe. It was a great time. It was awesome. Really cool to meet everybody too.
It really was. And before I let you go, I had a couple more pictures I wanted to show off of just good times that we had while we were out and about, just hanging out with good people. And this one down here, of course, is at the Whippy show. We all got to hang out. There's Todd, and just lots of meals together with different groups of people. Lots of great times. Great conversations. Having Ian sit at the head of the table for us here. And then, of course, you have to see the medal ceremony here. Getting standing there next to Jack the Whipper and Todd.
Yeah, that was really cool just to be a part of that. And also to get to meet Jack, that was really cool as
Jack's
well.
a cool guy, yeah. Yeah, I should have him on the show sometime. That'd be a lot of fun. And then...
That'd be super cool.
Here's...
Speed and Accuracy
Award. And then, of course, boom, with the new belt buckle. Man, that's awesome. That's the gold medal there with the buckle, and then I've got a close up, of course, of the buckle itself. That is really, really impressive, and hopefully you're just wear that to the grocery store every day, you know, and just.
I actually have it on. So I have the old one in the case. I actually have this one on a belt right now.
Oh, nice.
So that it could be worn. I figure I have. So last year I did not wear the one I won last year very much at all, only a couple times. So I was like, maybe this year I'll try to wear this like occasionally if I go out or something. Not like all the time, but
yeah,
just for fun.
Well, congratulations. It's certainly well deserved. And I hope to see some really amazing videos from you coming soon from our world champion whipcracker here.
Thank you, Christian. I really appreciate the compliments and also getting to chat.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. And I hope that I feel like we've become friends, both from Whipcon as well as this wonderful chat here, really getting to know you. And I hope the rest of the community feels like they know you a little bit better too. Because, that's why I do these, is I want to bring our diverse and geographically spread out community together. And so thank you so much for being on here and getting to know me and everybody else getting to know you.
Thank you so much for inviting me to have this podcast. I've never spoke on a podcast before, so definitely feel a little bit out of my element, but I'm definitely glad that we got to chat.
Hopefully
so this
it wasn't
has been
too
great
painful.
For sure.
Not too painful, I hope. Mm-mm. Yeah, good. Is there anything that you would like to have? If somebody wanted to book you for a show or wanted to hire you for coaching lessons, how would the best way for them to follow you on social media or hire you for an event like that?
Honestly, if they like, they could follow me on social media or just message me on Facebook, Instagram. Would be like totally fine.
Awesome. And let's see, I think of course, when I opened that video, it closed it. You're at Indie Ian Jones on Instagram.
So it's IND_Ian_Jones.
And I'll put that in the video description on YouTube and on the podcast information as well, so people can get to you there. So thank you very much, and everybody go check out his pictures and his amazing videos. Thank you, Ian, and have a good night. Keep cracking.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Christian. Keep cracking, and I'll talk to you again soon.
I just wanted to thank Ian Cameron once again for being on the podcast, and thank you everyone for watching the show. Congratulations to Ian for his win and for just getting to know all of us, for letting us get to know him, that this is a two-way conversation. And so go out and follow him on social media and check the links down below and so forth. And if you enjoy this podcast or any of these episodes and would like to see more coming, I could use your help. And you have a way to help out, actually. That is, you can go over to whipchatpodcast.com/donate. And I have a donate button there that you can click on, and you could help out a little bit. A little PayPal link. Any donation would be a huge help to keep this going with the hosting fees and so forth. But yeah, with that, check out Cameron's stuff, watch the videos, check out other YouTube videos where the recap of the 2024 Whipcon. There's a couple of really good ones. And everyone keep on cracking. Thank you, and have a great day.